What is up, you guys? In this YouTube video, we're going to do a quick one on just the current state of tracking as it pertains to two categories, and that is going to be link tracking, so think UTMs and click IDs and things like that, and cookies. So right now, everyone's in a fit over third-party cookies being deprecated, and I'm seeing all over the place cookies are dead, the way of tracking as we know it is not going to work anymore, and anyone saying these things, you should just turn the other way, because there is not that big of a concern unless you're like a publisher that only relies on third-party cookies to build these cross-site identities of people. Then yeah, third-party cookies going away is going to be bad for you. But for the majority of all of our clients, and for anyone wanting to actually be ethical, legal, scalable company, not to worry. So let's dive into these two things. We're going to start with cookies. So this whole thing about cookies going away, this only pertains to third-party cookies. And as of now, what they've said is that they're testing removing third-party cookies, and they started with like 1% of all Chrome browsers. And they're going to slowly increase that until the end of the year, until the end of 2024, when they'll remove third-party cookies entirely from Google. Like Google's removing those; they'll stop setting those, and the browser will stop setting those. So, what does that mean? Right now, only a subset of people don't have third-party cookies, but they're like Google's not the one to pioneer this in the first place. So this is not an uncommon thing by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So what does that mean? Well, if we take a look at a website, and I just pushed F12 on my keyboard. Alternatively, if you don't know, you can right-click, go Inspect, and then go to Application. And then on the left side here, there'll be a spot called cookies, and then we have our domain. So what we're going to be most interested about in determining if this is a first party versus third party cookie is, one, the context of the site we're in. So right now we're on visionlabs.com, and here we have a domain. So what this means is that all of these cookies, in fact, we can sort by domain to kind of organize this a little bit better. The cookies that are on this .visionlabs.com, those would be considered first-party cookies because we're on visionlabs.com and the domain is set for that cookie to be visionlabs.com. Now, technically, this means the dot before means visionlabs.com and any of its subdomains. So if we had members.visionlabs.com, or if we had something called the lab.visionlabs.com, right? Then those would be like, this cookie would apply to all of those, whereas I think there's a few down here, actually these ones here would not be applied to the subdomain. Like, it would have to be visionlabs.com. So just a fun little fact there. A quick aside. So what does that mean? There are some third-party cookies in our browser right now. So we have this CFBM. So I'm accessing the website. I'm on visionlabs.com, but the domain for this cookie is vimeo.com. So this Vimeo cookie would actually be considered a third-party cookie. So this is what we would be worrying about. So let's think of common tracking cookies that are used. We have the GA cookie. So this is the Google Analytics cookie, right? This would be the session ID, the user ID, user pseudo ID, whatever you want to call it. Let's look at the domain. This domain is set on visionlabs.com. So the Google Analytics cookie is a first-party cookie. When our Google Tag Manager loads on the website, we have our Google tag, which has configuration settings, and it's saying, hey, your measurement ID is this, blah, blah, blah. It runs code on the website. That code is going to set a cookie. The cookie was set by code on the website, and it's set on the domain of the website, so it's going to be a first-party cookie. Let's think of other common tracking cookies. I don't think we have Facebook on our site, so FB, no. So no Facebook cookies, but we could browse a number of sites to find that, and we would see that the domain matches the website. In fact, let's go do that. I have my little teaching website, coursescale.com. I know this one has Facebook on it, so I'm going to push F12. We're going to go and look at application, cookies, coursescale.com. And here we can see that all of the cookies set on this property, on this domain, are first party. Why do I know that? Because we're on coursescale.com and all of the cookies have a domain set of coursescale.com. Here we have that GA cookie, so it's not it's not Vision Labs. Now it's code that ran on CoreScale.com that is setting cookies for CoreScale.com. We have the Facebook browser ID. And if I came from an ad, so if we simulate that, if I do $FBCLID equals 123, now we're going to pretend that we just came from an ad, and we're going to see if we have a new FBC cookie. And maybe, did I do it right? FBCLID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, interesting. The Facebook Click ID cookie is not being set. However, when it does get set, it is also first party. So the thing to watch out for are those, when you're on your site and you're seeing cookies set with a domain other than the site you're on, those would be the third-party cookies. Those are what would stop working. So if those identifiers, those IDs, or anything like that are being used to build audiences for retargeting, for other purposes, from, think of like published, like ad roll and things like that, then those are what are going to stop working, and those platforms that were already super hard to trust and not sure if they worked are going to be harder. So we'll see. But for performance marketers, there's not much to worry about, and cookies are definitely not going away. Like the web would stop working without cookies. You wouldn't be able to log in places. Cookies are how information is remembered in a browser. So if you're logged in to a website and you go to another page, it only knows you're logged in because you set a cookie. Or if you're on an e-commerce shop and you add something to your cart, most likely that cart is stored in a cookie so that it persists across all of your different pages and can be used to so it doesn't get lost. Imagine going to every single page, your cart is gone. You'd have to check out right there where it'd get lost. Maybe that's the new performance marketer's tactic. So yeah, and membership sites, all of those different things, coupon codes getting stored, like anything that has memory across pages is done by storage. And the only types of storage are right here that are mainly used, right? Unless there's like server-side storage or something like that. But you have cookies, session storage, local storage, and they all behave a little bit different, right? Cookies are obviously one of the most common, but they're not evil. They're definitely not going away, and there's not much to worry about for marketers. All right, so that is the cookies. Now let's talk a little bit about click IDs and things like that. So what I mean by click IDs is if you're on Facebook, and that is a beautiful circle here, and you're coming from Facebook and you're coming to the Vision Labs website, which, by the way, if you would like us to help you with any of this, go ahead and head on over to Vision Labs, click the little contact button and schedule a call. We'd love to just jam and talk about all of this tracking and measurement with you. Or if you want us done for you, we offer that as well. So go ahead, go to the link somewhere. It'll be around. Schedule that call. We'd love to talk to you. Okay, so let's come back to Facebook and click IDs. When you are on a Facebook ad and you click to the website, you will have a click ID. Right now it looks like this for Facebook in particular, where you have your link and you have a FBC LID, and this is probably super duper small, so we can solve that with the magic of the internet. FBC LID, which is the Facebook click ID, or if you're coming from a Google ad, right, you're going to have a Gclid or a WBraid or something like this. Like there's all these TikTok click ID, like there's all these IDs that get added from the platform to your website. And what happens is when you have those vendors' codes, so you have the Facebook JavaScript, you have the Google tags, you have TikTok code on your website, what they're going to do is they're going to look up in the URL where these click IDs exist, and then the JavaScript is going to read those, and it's going to set a cookie in the browser, right? Because it wants to persist that click ID so that when you make a purchase later on, those values are in the browser, right? So as I kind of talked about with the cookies, it's state, right? It's persistence. It's storing that value for later so that when you actually make a purchase, that click ID is still in the browser and it can be sent back to the ad platform and say, hey, Joe Schmo just bought and he had this click ID. So he came from this ad. That's how we're going to do attribution. Now, with server-side tracking, platforms are getting better at not needing that click ID. So if you send an email address back, then they'll be able to use that in some capacity to say, hey, this email address purchased, do we have an ad click on our side with that same email address? And that's how they'll be able to say, oh yeah, so this email purchased based on our algorithm, they clicked on this many ads, like this was the ad that they came from, blah, blah, blah. That's how they could do it. So click IDs are no longer in the top list of what they would use for attribution. Email address is number one. So server-side technology is definitely coming in hot. Going to be a big thing moving into 2024 and beyond. It's only going to get more important. So anyway, what we're talking about is the click IDs. So what WebKit or Safari, I keep trying to move in drawing, what WebKit is doing. Now, WebKit is the browser on all of your like Apple devices. So even if you're running Chrome, it's a WebKit. WebKit is saying that if someone is in private browsing mode and they have a click ID, like a known click ID, then they're going to remove that. So if you were in your private browser, if you go to Safari, for example, and you go to private browsing, and then you log into your Facebook on the browser, right? Not the Facebook app, but you log in on the browser, and then you click on an ad, that click ID will be stripped, right? It'll be gone, it won't exist. But you might be like me and saying like, wow, no one, like that's like, no one does that, everyone uses the app. And you're right. So as of right now, if you're on the app and you go to click on an ad and you go to a website, so you're on the app, so this is app, click an ad, go to a website, the click ID will stay there. Like it's still there. The only time that gets stripped is if you're in Safari in private. So you would have to like start there. So it depends where you start, I guess. That's maybe the best way to look at it is where did you start? Did you start in the app or did you start in Safari? That would be stripped. So what about like all of the IDs? Not all of them are blocked. Like I don't think TikTok is blocked right now, but it's only a matter of time, right? The writing's on the wall. They just haven't added that click ID to their list yet. But the big question is, are UTMs blocked? And the answer is no. As of right now, UTMs are not being blocked at all. So even if you started on Safari in private and you click on an ad that had UTMs, those UTMs would not be blocked. So there's a lot of discussion around like how are these platforms going to adapt? Like what's the new Facebook click ID going to be? Is it going to be added to a UTM? Is it going to be, are they just going to change the parameter? Are they going to do page paths instead of parameters? Are you going to have a single landing page per ad or something? Like there's all these questions around it. But as of now, nothing is solidified, and things are still working mostly, for the most part. One other thing to consider is that if you do come from a known kind of tracking domain, so like Facebook is a big one or Google, then on Apple devices or on Safari, those cookies that are set will be limited as well. So cookies do have a lifetime. So right here, there is an expiration on these cookies that will define when they should be expired. So if a JavaScript on the code, you just came from a tracking domain that tries to set a cookie, it will be limited, right? In some case, up to 24 hours. So there are things to do around there, but that is also one thing to consider. If you have a larger buying cycle and you need those cookies, then you may want to figure something out there. Using server-side solutions and things like that can help mitigate against those problems. So, all right, that is an overview of kind of the current state of tracking as it pertains to two things, link tracking and cookies. I'll see you in the next one.